There's a long legal instruction that is given to the jurors, but I can boil it down, and it goes like this. You may not talk to anyone about anything that happens inside this courtroom, and that includes amongst yourselves. The jurors can't even talk to each other. They cannot form or express any opinions about anything. They cannot go outside the courtroom and seek any information about the trial in any way. They're not investigators. And they take this very seriously. I believe our jurors do a very good job of this.
სახში წასულმა საჯულმა, ნაფიცმა საჯულმა დაუშვათ პრესას გადახედოს ან ტელევიზორი ჩართოს, როცა ესეთი ცხოველი განხილვა მიმდინარეობს кейსის მედიით და მოусმინოს ამას და მიიღოს რაღაცა დამატებითი ინფორმაცია.
I explained to him, if you violate this rule in any way, and I find out, then you will be dealing eyeball to eyeball with me, and I will be unamused. And I will make an example of you. I will put you in a jail.
You said that you would not like the journalists to interrupt and the victims not to be sort of damaged with the information from the media. But when the journalists get an exclusive information or they think that the investigative police doesn't have at all, do the journalists really think at that moment, will it interrupt the investigation or not?
If you have an exclusive, you've got to, again, weigh, is this really that important? You know, it's a constant balance that you have to look at. Do we do everything just because they ask us to? No. There are a lot of times they'll ask us to hold things we don't. But in the case with this, when they were about to pick the jury, we held that story for 3 months and wait one more week really didn't matter because from our, there was no difference to us whether it was this week or the next week. He'd been charged. We had all this information. We had all this background. We talked to all sorts of people who knew him from growing up and how he evolved into this gang leader. So really, the wait a week wasn't an issue. But you're going to come up on stories where it will be an issue. Is it more important to get this information now because it's so timely than it is to wait for the jury trial or what they want to do? You're going to have to balance it each time.
I think one thing that all journalists need to be aware of is that there are people who try to manipulate journalists for their own benefit. And if you're doing an investigative story especially, and there's someone that wants information out there, say it's not the prosecutor, but it's someone else who wants their own agenda, then they could give you false information. So when you're doing especially investigative stories, I have learned that if someone wants to be an anonymous source, you have to be sure of why they want to be an anonymous source, and you get a second source that hopefully is not anonymous to corroborate or to go along with what they say. Investigative pieces are very difficult to do because there are people that are supplying you with information, and you as a journalist have to decide if what they're telling you is true, and you try to verify that with other people, and then you have to figure out why are they telling you this. Are they telling you this to manipulate the story to their own benefit?
Almost everything revolves around personal relationships. You get to know people and you gain their trust by your behavior. They gain your trust by the way they behave. I was able to do what I did, at least in part, because I knew the people at the dispatch and had known them for 20 years. So when I called on the phone and started asking, I had 20 years of relationship with these people, and they trusted me, and I trusted them. So it comes with time, and it comes with trust. It's the way people behave. I think in Columbus, Ohio, we have very responsible news organizations. And in the 32 years that I've been doing this, I can only think of a few times when they did things that I thought were way out of bounds, way out of line.